We're ready to call this meeting to order. This is our June 8th White Sound Planning Commission meeting. And we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise for that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Staff, would you call roll?
Matt Doublestein.
Present.
Andrew McGee.
Here.
Lauren Foley.
Here.
Sarah Ford.
Present.
Danny Powers.
Here.
Steve Milstead.
Present.
Dave Taylor.
Here.
Thank you. All right, then we move on to approval of the agenda. Did everyone have a chance to read the minutes from the May meeting, and is there a motion?
Matt, with the motion for the approval of the agenda, can we make a change to the agenda and update the next meeting that we have, instead of having the next meeting for Plan Commission be on Monday, July 13th, have that meeting for Thursday, July 2nd at 6:30 p.m.
When there's a motion, let's include that, please.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
if I might elaborate on that, the governor's executive orders, which authorize these virtual meetings, they have an expiration date currently of July the 4th. So this would be the last possible weeknight when we could hold a meeting and still conduct it on this virtual approach, using this virtual approach. So I think that was a part of the reason why Brittany has proposed this change for the July meeting date.
So I think first up then is a motion on last month's meeting minutes. Is there a motion from the commission?
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? All right. So then approval of the agenda and the change to next month's meeting date.
Matt, I believe I have to do a roll call for all of this.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Forgive me.
Matt
Thanks,
Doublestein.
Brittany.
No problem.
Aye.
Andrew McGee.
Aye.
Lauren Foley.
Aye.
Sarah Ford.
Aye.
Danny Powers.
Aye.
Steve Milstead.
Aye.
Dave Taylor.
Aye.
And so procedurally, that was for our minutes, right, Brittany? That was on the last motion. All right. So then, is there a motion on the approval of this agenda to include the change to next month's meeting as well?
I make a motion to approve tonight's agenda and the addendum to next month's meeting date.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Brittany, would you call us up?
Matt Doublestein.
Aye.
Andrew McGee.
Aye.
Lauren Foley.
Aye.
Sarah Ford.
Aye.
Danny Powers.
Aye.
Steve Milstead.
Aye.
Dave Taylor.
Aye.
And that motion passes. The next section of our agenda is the public request to speak on non-agenda items. If there is anyone who would like to speak on non-agenda items and has not already done so, please be in touch with our host. And that's indicated by, let's see, you can do that in the chat. You can do that in the chat. Mr. Messer, is there anyone who's requested to speak on non-agenda items?
Not at this time.
All right.
And I don't know that if anyone's speaking on agenda and wants to be forwarded on, they can also message me through the host and I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you. Perhaps we can give it a moment here. See if anybody might wish to contact you.
Well, Mr. President, I believe it would be acceptable if they happen to contact Nathan during the presentation by the petitioner, as long as they get in before the public hearing is closed.
Great. All right, thank you. I don't see anything under presentations or unfinished business. So unless there's anything new,
No.
we'll move on then to new business. And let's see. Make sure I get all the correct. We have new business item PC 20009 DP Glasswater Creek Development Plan. Let's see, does the petitioner have a presentation they'd like to make?
I believe it's either Brian or Liam. Brian.
Thanks, Brittany. So yeah, thank you, Planning Commission members and staff. My name is Brian Sheward. I'm a civil engineer at Kimley Horn and Associates. Our offices are at 250 East 96th Street, Suite 580 in Indianapolis, Indiana, 46240. I'm here tonight representing Community Reinvestment Foundation, sometimes known as CRF, for the proposed Glasswater Creek of Whitestown project to be located on the northeast corner of the MS Broadcasting property, which is west of Gateway Park and south of the Redwood residential development. With me tonight are several people. I've got Eric Cooper, who's the Vice President of CRF. Yep, and several Kimley Horn team members who've assisted in the design of the project, as well as Vanessa Shoemate, who's the architect from Structure Point. So just to back us up for a second and recap where we've been, we had received a concept plan approval back on April 27th of this year. And tonight, we're seeking development plan approval for the project. So this specific project is an affordable assisted senior living development. If there are questions about that use, I'm sure Mr. Cooper would be happy to explain that. The zoning of the property is urban business. That's what the existing MS Communications site is zoned. The site itself is approximately 5 acres, and what it entails is a single building, which is approximately 33,000 square feet, 4 stories tall, right at 50 feet tall. There are 126 units. 97 parking spaces are on the site plan. And in addition to the on-site improvements, the project includes the construction of a public road extension, just a stub, to a cul-de-sac off of New Hope Boulevard, and that'll be located directly south of Hemlock Drive, which is the entrance into the Redwood residential development to the north. Utilities to serve the development will be gained from New Hope Boulevard, as well as sewer will be extended from the south through a private easement that'll run through the MS property to the south. And access to the site, there are 2, you can look at it as 2 proposed curb cuts to New Hope Boulevard. One is for this development specifically, and the other is the extension or the stub road that was referred to a moment ago across from Hemlock Drive. So following the concept plan approval, the town had asked that the developer address several Plan Commission and resident concerns. Summarizing those down into a few bullet points, there were concerns about traffic to the surrounding area and what this project would do to the traffic in the neighborhoods. There were concerns about landscaping, specifically on the eastern side of the development that faces Gateway Park and homes that are east of Gateway. A few questions on site lighting, and a few on architectural materials and some other architectural items. So since the 27th of April, we've worked with town staff, and I'd like to summarize a few of those in the presentation here briefly. In response to the town's concerns, we prepared a traffic study that was at the direction of the town. So Mr. Powers had asked us to prepare a traffic study to address concerns with increased traffic due to the development. So we had prepared a traffic study and submitted to the town on May 7th. And in summary, the findings were that senior living communities do not generate a significant amount of traffic, particularly during the morning and evening peak periods of the surrounding areas. Staff shifts for this development generally do not align with typical peak hours, and residents and visitors generally focus their trips to this facility and from it to midday periods, which are outside of what you would see the typical coming and going from a residential neighborhood to and from work. The residential uses similar to the proposed community generally generate significantly fewer trips per unit than single family homes, which are what largely comprise the surrounding neighborhoods. And based on the proposed development plan, the peak hour traffic projections result in about 40 total trips, which is 20 in and 20 out during peak hour, which is not expected to cause meaningful impacts on the nearby streets or intersections. As the Emmis property develops, it is anticipated that a connector road will be connected to provide connectivity between New Hope Boulevard and Perryworth Drive or Perryworth Road, which will further distribute and reduce impacts on the existing intersections and streets to the east of this project, which would be New Hope Boulevard and several other streets within the subdivision. So this connectivity has been discussed with town staff and has been viewed as both necessary and a positive element to improve connectivity in the area. Secondly, landscaping. The developer agreed to add additional landscaping above the minimum standards of the ordinance along the east side of the development, and to reorient several other trees on the east side to better focus on screening employee parking, which is expected to be on the southeast corner of the site plan. Employees are anticipated to park in this area on the southeast side, which face eastward. So there was a concern, and a valid concern, that lights from headlights could shine across the park and into people's homes on the east side of Gateway Park. So shrubs have been lined along the nose of those parking spaces, and that revised landscape plan had been provided back to staff some time ago. Lighting. This project will include on-site lighting, both as pole lights and lights affixed to the building. Lighting levels will be at 0-foot candles at the property line, which meets the town's lighting ordinance. And there are no proposed lights off-site along New Hope Boulevard, public right-of-way, or anything of that sort. It's confined to this project site. And then lastly, and Vanessa, I'm sure could extrapolate on this if needed, but I would say that the building materials proposed for this project are primarily fiber cement panels, metal siding, and cast stone veneer. A materials board and prospective renderings were submitted to the town for review during the TAC process, which we've been approved through the TAC review. So I'd say in summary, this proposed project is a by right use that meets all zoning criteria in the ordinance. So we are not seeking any waivers or variances through this process. We received our TAC approval working through Whitestown and the Boone County Surveyor's Office, as well as utility companies that would serve this site. And we do have our Boone County Drainage Board approval that we had gathered last month. I thank you for your time. Respectfully request development plan approval for this project tonight. And if there's any questions, I'm sure myself or someone from our team would be happy to address.
Thank you, Brian. Brittany, could you give the staff report?
Yes. Concept plan was approved at the April 27th WPC meeting. In light of concerns raised by the community at the concept plan hearing, the applicant submitted a revised landscape plan in revision to other plans. The revised landscape plan shows an additional 4 evergreen trees and 14 bushes along the eastern edge of the parking lot. As future development occurs within the Emmis property, a street connection will be constructed connecting New Hope Boulevard and Perryworth Road. This will help alleviate some of the traffic off of the residential streets. As well as when the developer submitted their plans, they submitted a photometric plan, which staff has reviewed. It prevents light pollution to adjacent neighboring properties. Also along the property, that they will have to have down lighting, which will help as well prevent some of that light pollution. And I just want to make note that any emails and correspondence that I have received between the April 27th meeting and today, I did forward along to the board members. I know there were a few residents that had emailed some concerns, and I just want them to be aware that staff has read them. The petitioner also is aware of the concerns, and the board has been forwarded those.
Thank you. And to that end, Brittany, as we move into the public discussion part of this one, perhaps it's worth noting that in those, let's see, I believe you forwarded, is it 4 to us? 4, does that sound right? 4 members? 1, 2, perhaps it's 3. I have note of that several of those concerns as you described them, traffic, lights. There were 2 others, and I wonder if we might, I guess maybe I'll note them if that would be appropriate before we have other opportunities for comment. And one was about concern for the height of buildings, and another was about connection of New Hope Boulevard to I-65. So perhaps as we get a little later, we can talk about those, having acknowledged that we received those messages. I do see, I think, 3 requests to speak. Mr. Messer, have you received any additional beyond what you sent me?
No, I've sent you everything I've received at this time.
Great. Okay. I think first up, notifying to speak in this public comment portion of the meeting is Autumn Soka.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you. Hi.
Hi.
And if you begin by stating your name and your address. And
Yeah, sure. My name's Autumn Soika, and I live at 5755 Gateway East Drive. So we're just adjacent to the proposed development. I'm one of the ones that sent over some concerns to Brittany. As we mentioned, it's a really busy green space. We have 3 little kids. There's a lot of kids that live in the area that, run back and forth and ride bikes. We have a lot of concerns about increase in traffic, and we understand that that might not be just during commuting hours, but our kids play all day. And we just really feel like something of this size and nature doesn't belong in the middle, really, of our neighborhood. There's a lot of concerns too about emergency vehicles and accessibility. Anytime, well, not right now because there's a lot of birthday parades, but anytime there is a fire truck or, an ambulance coming down our street, it's very loud and obvious. And we looked at some of the records on some of the other properties that CRF has and just this type of property in general. And we found anywhere from 2 to 4 runs a month for emergency vehicles. So accessibility for one, even just for the residents' sake, coming up, obviously Gateway East is one option. New Hope would be a little tight, but we have a lot of concerns about it, and just the continuity of construction. It's a property the size of the hotels down the street, being right across from residential homes and 1-story apartments. It just, in my opinion, would not fit in very well. So that's all I just wanted to share. I really appreciate you hearing from us, as we would be really affected by it.
Thank you. And thank you for helping me pronounce your name better, Soika. My apologies. The next person I had to speak, Robert Amy.
Yes, President Doublestein, hello. Thank you for your time in hearing my concerns. I also live on Gateway East Drive. I live at the other end at Meadowview and Gateway, but At the same token, take my kids and frequent I believe it's an 8 circuit kind of walkway around the pathway around that park that we have. Aside from what I can only imagine is going to be an atrocious eyesore, I can't imagine what it's going to do towards the loss of tax revenue from the lack of a reduction in the house value that Whitestown's going to have to endure. I appreciate that you're going to get perhaps an offset because of the increased tax revenue you'll have from the new structure, but the decrease in overall have you done cost benefit analysis on the tax deduction or reduction based off of the reduction in house value? As a question to whomever may have done that. In addition to that, then.
Do we want to save questions for the rebuttal at the end?
Yep.
Okay.
We'll leave that question. Forgive me, I was
Very
writing it down. I'm taking
Very good.
note of these questions. We'll make sure we
Very good.
address some of these
And then-
concerns at the end.
And then the other end then is I think Autumn also mentioned this is the safety and quality of the neighborhood overall. I purchased a house here because it's in a very good Zionsville school system, and it's meant to be a neighborhood that children can be raised in, and it doesn't. Now we're kind of merging it together with an old age pensioner kind of environment, and now we're kind of blending together two different environments, and it's mixing together what the intent of the neighborhood was supposed to be. So it's not meant to be a discriminatory kind of thing, but it just seems odd that there just seems to be an opening somewhere that, and a company wants to just put a building in the middle of it. It makes no sense to put it there apart from a monetary reason. So obviously money pays for everything, but it doesn't make any sense from the residents that live here. I understand, so you discussed the lights. You kind of put some downlights on there, the building height. Oh yeah, so we're talking about 4 stories, is that correct?
That's correct.
4 stories at 50 feet?
That's correct.
My house is 40 feet. How did you get 5? How do you get 4 stories out of 50 feet?
You save that one, Brian, if you would.
Sure.
That's interesting. Okay. And
Yeah,
then,
we'll make sure we get that.
I should. All right. And then building height, I'll correct that. It's not 40 feet. Or it's not, mine isn't. It's closer to 38. It's got an apex roof. So, like building height. And then you said you're going to offset with a few shrubs. What's the height of these shrubs? They're not going to. I mean, that seems like very ridiculous to suggest that a few bushes are going to offset the eyesore, a four-story building. But I appreciate that. I don't really appreciate it. It just seems ridiculous that you're going to put some bushes around the building and say that that's going to be good. But I'll yield my time.
Thank you, Mr. Amy. And next I had Kyle Weathers. Hi, Kyle.
Thank you, board members and Mr. President. I have issue with the traffic study. I find it pretty comical and pretty incompetent, actually. When you think about the traffic coming through, I've had several family members in retirement communities, and you go to visit them after work and on the weekends when families are going to be home and kids are crossing the street over into the park. So I think that the study was very poorly done. My other concern with the traffic study is it did not mention construction traffic. So, and I apologize, I'm at 5895 Gateway East Drive, so directly across from the park as well. And I know that construction traffic will probably come right down Gateway, and you have big dump trucks and heavy machinery coming down here and construction workers who tend not to obey the 30-mile-an-hour traffic laws. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Nathan, anybody else at this point?
No, I'm rolling back through, making sure we didn't get anything in the middle, but I don't see any.
Great. Thank you to all members of the public. Thank you for speaking. I've taken some notes and we'll have some questions myself, but
It looked like somebody
Okay.
raised their hand. Did Brendan Murphy raise a hand? Brendan? Sorry, I saw that over here and wanted to
I
make
didn't see
sure.
that one.
Oh, I see it in the participants too, Sarah.
See you guys.
I don't have comment from, but
Okay.
I'm not seeing.
Brendan Murphy. Yeah, they do have their hand raised on the Zoom app.
Not even seeing them in the list of people.
I'm not either. Yeah, well, there they are. Brendan, if you're wanting to chat, put it in the note to Nathan. Okay, I just wanted to make sure it was addressed and he knew he could chat you if he wants
As
to.
I'm here, I'll unmute. Let's see.
Okay.
So Brendan's unmuted if you would like to, if you were here to speak on the top.
Yeah, I hope everybody can hear me. My name is Brendan Murphy. I live at 6195 Meadowview Drive, which is between Crowley and Gateway. Our issue really is the traffic situation, and I appreciate the last comment about what we think is kind of a silly traffic study. Being in the senior housing business myself, there will be more than 20 cars in and 20 cars out, and that if you look at the number of caregivers, administrative workers, family members, visitors, but what your traffic study entirely leaves out is all of the commercial traffic. So there will be food service deliveries, laundry service deliveries, landscaping, durable medical equipment, private ambulance services, healthcare providers. I mean, there will literally be semi trucks rolling down Schooler, Gateway, Meadowview, and New Hope to get to this property. So our question is, especially since it was mentioned about a connector to Perry Worth, why don't you just access this property from Perry Worth? Again, while the traffic study may address the volume of individual employees, it doesn't at all address the nature of the traffic that's going to be going through our neighborhood. Meadowview is 20 miles an hour, New Hope is 20 miles an hour. They're doing traffic studies now with speeding on those roads as it already is. And so now there will be semi trucks going too fast down those roads. So that's it. That's what I wanted to say. I appreciate you recognizing my hand, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Messer has sent another one. April Whitehoff, are you ready to speak as well?
Yes, thank you. My name is April Whithoff. I live at 5867 Solomon Harmon Way. And my comments are a little bit different. I am for this development, and I think it's a great opportunity for our community in general. And I welcome seniors into our community. And just a little bit history of the research I have done. This property was rezoned as commercial less than 2 years ago. So I'm thankful that the town rezoned it. As far as the Perry Worth connection, I think it would actually help eliminate traffic through New Hope for residents at the end of the community. And there's some apartments there that it would help. And I believe it would also help reduce some of the noise pollution from 65. And I guess depending on where you look at it, it could be perceived as the front or the end of the community itself, not necessarily in the middle. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. So our bylaws call for 20 minutes for public comment. I do have one new request to speak. And it did come in during these comments. I think, let's see, where am I looking here? Would the board have interest in extending for another speaker? I think we need a motion.
Yes.
I think we need a motion to extend public comment.
I make a motion to extend public comment.
Second.
All right, Matt Doublestein,
Aye.
Andrew McGee,
Aye.
Lauren Foley,
Aye.
Sarah Ford,
Aye.
Danny Powers,
Aye.
Steve Milstead,
Aye.
Dave Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. There's another speaker on this. You see it there, Nate. I don't have a name for the person who's actually speaking.
They're speaking through someone else, but they're unmuted now.
Oh yeah, that's going to be us again. Thank you for extending the time. We really appreciate it. So I have my in-laws here also, and one of the reasons we moved into this area is because of the Redwood community. They're also seniors. They live right down the street. And our kids right now are able to bike over and visit with their grandparents, which we love. And they would like to speak just as residents also in the neighborhood.
Hi, my name is Richard Soika. I live at 5820 Hemlock Drive. And I would like to say that, I noticed that they have a senior living over on just south of Myers. And I know it's not the exact same thing as this, but every time, when you drive by there, there's fire trucks, there's ambulances, they're going at a high rate of speed. And of course, there's no residential area over there. There's no housing or anything, so that's quite fine. But now we have an area here where first we didn't even know if they could build. We live in Redwood here and didn't know if they could build here because you wouldn't think you could build here because of the fences going around and like the towers there and stuff. So it's just such a beautiful area to be at. Secondly, the traffic here, I cannot believe there's not going to be traffic here. These trucks come by here sometimes. There are signs in every one of these areas, no construction, no construction, no construction traffic. These trucks come down here, these cement trucks are going 40 miles an hour. They're going so fast, they have to make U-turns or not going through any of the, so many people here say no construction, like that. And now we're going to have an area here where there are just so many kids every single day in this park. There's going to be construction everywhere, construction trucks, everything. And I just don't think it's going to be a very safe area. And I just hope any of the children here just don't get injured or anything by this. So that's all I'd like to say, and thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, then seeing no more requests to speak, we'll close the public discussion and turn over to the petitioner for a response. I think I saw you, Brian, taking some notes.
I did.
I'm sure we'll have some things to ask of you as well, but I want to get on some of those concerns that the public brought up.
Sure. And I'm going to try to go back in order. And if I forget something or I don't adequately address it, please forgive me and let me know. So Ms. Soika, I think you were the first, and you had mentioned that there were in doing some research, upwards of, I think you said 2 to 4, but call it per month, a significant amount of emergency traffic that would be coming to this type of a use, with the nature of it being an assisted living facility. No doubt, I don't think there's a response that's, I can tell you that it won't happen. I think that's a reality, that there will be some trips that will come. I think that my response to that would be that in the future, with the connection of New Hope to Perryworth, there will be an alternate route that would be there, as well as, not to belittle the concern by any means, but I know that this is considered a by right use in this zoning district on where it is. I think, given the trips generated, and that kind of jumps down to Mr. Murphy's comment, which I'll get to as well. The trips generated are based on the ITE trip generation manual, which is an industry standard acceptable way of use classifications. So with that, the trips in and out are based on the science that is the standard and how this works. And if there's any specific questions, Drew Wolford, who you may see on the screen, is a colleague of mine. He had helped draft that report. So, and then I know there was also a comment I think that you had made about the building height. So 50 feet is what the max allowable height is within urban business zoning. So this does come right up against the maximum height, but it is within the maximum height. So working through the zoning criteria and the design of the project, that was a constraint that we designed around. And to Mr. Amy's comment about the height and how it's possible to have the 4 stories, I'm not sure, Brittany, if it's possible to show the elevations. But I would say the difference is that this has a flat roof. There's a parapet at the top. And our architect would be happy to answer that in any more detail. I don't know if it's necessary at this point too, but I'm sure she'd be happy to chime in. Mr. Amy, I know you had a comment about the quote eyesore of the architecture on the project. I guess I would answer that as it's an eye of the beholder type of thing. We had come in early in the process last year, even, to show some representative examples to town staff at the beginning to try to solicit feedback on everything from use to location to architecture and everything under the sun almost. And we had shown an example of a project that CRF has over in Plainfield off Ronald Reagan Parkway, just south of Bradford Road. And it was met with a positive review from town staff on the architecture. So this does meet the ordinance when it comes to the architecture, the materials, the height, kind of all the way around from a allowable use perspective and meeting the ordinance. Tax implications, I probably can't answer that as well as possibly the town staff could, but I know in land use law, this is a by right use for the property. Because we're not seeking, I don't believe that necessarily plays into this body's approval or not approval of a project or making a motion on that. Brittany, I don't know, is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, I don't, yes, I would say that's an accurate statement, Brian.
And then Mr. Amy also had a question about the height, which I mentioned. There were concerns about shrubs blocking. So to be clear on the landscaping, there is no illusion that any shrubs or trees are going to completely screen this building. Those trees at maturity will likely not reach the tall height of the building. It possibly could. But what specific it was, and I'm not sure if in the staff report there's a picture of the landscape plan. What it is there are east-facing car parking spaces on the southeast corner of the property. And I'm not sure exactly how many there are. I'm trying to get to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 parking spaces that face due east behind the building on the south side along the east property line. And those shrubs will mature to 3 to 4 feet tall. The idea there is that those trees would block headlights. That's really the goal of that. So by no means am I claiming that shrubs are going to block the view of the building. I would also say, Mr. Weathers, you had concerns about the traffic study. I would say, kind of as I've already said, the traffic study, it's a review. It's based on the ITE manual, this use, the number of units, what's been seen around the country in similar developments. And it does seem to be common reoccurring comments from several remonstrators about speeding on the adjacent roads. I'd say, as I think was mentioned during the concept plan approval, that's really a compliance issue, policing the streets or dealing with people not necessarily following the rules that already exist on the adjacent roads. As it comes to construction traffic, that's an excellent question, and we are happy to hear from the town how to access the site during construction, but I don't think that should warrant whether or not the project is allowed to happen or not. I think it's a logistical challenge that we need to work through, and we're happy to work through that. I'm sure Mr. Cooper would agree to that. I know Mr. Murphy had concerns about the trip generation manual. I will say, and I'll let Drew chime in if he needs to, but the trips generated those aren't only just the residents. It's got a lot of different factors that weigh into that. So I would respectfully disagree with that. And if the trips are slightly higher, they would only be slightly higher. It would be atypical for it to be significantly higher than what the trip generation manual would generate. I think Ms. Whithoff had noted the rezone in 2018. I think that is a very important thing to note, as I did already, that as I don't want to be a broken record, but this is an allowable use. We're not seeking a special exception for this type of use here. So I guess with that, Mr. President, if I've missed a specific item, let me know, but I think without being too redundant, I think I covered the items.
Thank you. I had a computer issue myself. Can anybody hear me? Am I coming through okay? All right, great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And that's the closing remarks. So we'll then close the public hearing, and we're open for questions, comments, and discussion among the board.
Can you, Brittany, can you remind us what the MS property was zoned previous to the 2018 rezone?
So the MS property, let me go back. I believe, sorry, let me look this up real quick. I believe the MS property we had it was zoned ag prior to the rezone that happened.
I was gonna say, it looks to me like it was probably zoned agriculture.
I thought it was industrial.
Oh, okay.
Andrew, let me get right back to you on that. I'm going back and pulling the record.
Okay.
While she's doing that, is there anyone, there was one component that I got out of the email feedback that wasn't really addressed too much, and perhaps it's better asked to anyone who's more familiar with the transportation plan, but there was a question about connecting New Hope Boulevard to I-65. It sounded more like the scope of this within the greater transportation plan, and we heard some things about that connector to Perry Worth. Is there anyone from the town or otherwise who can talk about that? I did not. That was one item that was brought up. Is there anyone who can address that to any degree?
I believe as far as connecting New Hope to Perryworth, the transportation plan didn't get into that level of detail for New Hope specifically connecting to Perryworth. Just for that MS site to get the traffic over to really any of the development along Perryworth, whether it be on the Clark Round or the MS property. Connectivity to Perryworth is important. I mean, it would just utilize the brand new interchange that's going to be under construction to allow maximum use to get to I-65 and help take relief off Main Street. Until some sort of development were to happen at the end of New Hope, so we could actually look at any plans and proposals, it would be development driven. And then if that development would fit, making any sort of connection of New Hope to Perryworth or not allowing that connection. Does that help answer any questions, Matt?
Perhaps a bit for me. I think what I'm hearing you say is that this doesn't, and I think Brian said a little bit too, this development specifically does not connect anything to I-65.
Correct.
Yeah.
They've just got a stub that will be a public stub for a future public road to connect Hemlock Drive down to Perryworth Road. In anticipation that the Emmis site would develop, it would make sense to have some connectivity to allow it to outlet to Perryworth.
Can anyone
And
speak about?
Matt,
Oh,
I did.
yeah. Please.
I sorry. I wanted to pull up the staff report from when it got rezoned in 2018. The property they rezoned the 2 parcels, one of which is all of where the Emmis Towers are, and then a portion of the Emmis property is more where the drive is that goes to the existing small building that's on the property. But it was zoned light industrial prior to the rezone.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there anything else from the commission? Questions, discussion, comments?
Matt, I will say, when this does go through the TAC process, as well as after things go through Plan Commission, we do still have a pre-construction process where we, the town entities, meet with a developer and come up with, go over the construction and as well as some of the ordinance that do go with construction that we have in the town. So as far as making sure the site is maintained and the site is kept clean, keeping dirt off the streets, as well as construction entrances will all be addressed in those meetings with the developer.
And well, regardless of how the vote is, but could we also look at, I know this isn't the forum and none of the staff on the board is part of police, but could we look at to more enforcement along Gateway and or New Hope? It sounds like we're already hearing concerns about speeding along those areas. If you could relay that, I guess.
Yes, and I do not, I mean, I obviously that is, I am not any part of PD, but we can express those concerns, and I believe the residents also can reach out and ask for extra patrols in the area. So that would also be a recommendation as well.
Okay.
I think from a Plan Commission perspective, I mean, when you're looking at it pragmatically, there's nothing here that's outside of the UDO. The requests have been, there have been changes made based on resident request. And so from that perspective, there will be other things that will go in this property down the road as well, I assume. This just takes one portion of it, correct? So, I mean, from just looking at it from what we look at it as a Plan Commission perspective, there's nothing outside of the UDO that has been put forth in any portion of this project.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's not a rezone. Doesn't sound like they're going to ask for variances.
No.
When this was rezoned, I would also like to note there were no commitments. There were no special commitments made on this rezone when it got rezoned from industrial to urban business.
And I'll just make a comment myself as a resident in the neighborhoods of Anson. I live along Andrews Way, closer to Schooler, and lived there prior to the retail shops being built. The Realty Link project where Hobby Lobby, TJ Maxx, so looking at this, my own personal opinion, I feel like a senior living facility is a good use for this area based on what the original Anson plans could have been. I know the Anson, this is not part of the Anson PUD, but it is adjacent. And when the Realty Link project went through and my house was built, there were concerns about that project. My home values have not gone down for my house. And then also looking at the history as the project, when it rezoned from light industrial to urban business, as a resident, the light industrial could have been much worse. So I'm just stating my opinion for what this project is at the moment.
I'd offer similar sentiments, I guess, as the neighbor the other direction, a little further away, but still attached. Not that I don't mind the landmark of the flashing red lights from those large antenna, but there are eye of the beholder kinds of things there as well. I agree with kind of what Sarah has said. I don't see anything here that would cause us to need something different. Are there any other comments or any other thoughts, or is there a motion on this item?
I make a motion to approve docket PC 20-009-DP Glasswater Creek Development Plan.
I'll second.
A motion second. Is there any further discussion? Brittany, would you take votes for us?
Yes. Matt Doublestein,
Aye.
Andrew McGee,
Aye.
Lauren Foley,
Aye.
Sarah Ford,
Aye.
Danny Powers,
Aye.
Steve Milstead,
Aye.
Dave Taylor.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. And thank you all, especially for your comments.
Thank you very much.
Do we have any other items for business or announcements?
We don't. I do just want to announce again that we did make a motion at the beginning of this meeting to move the next Plan Commission meeting from the regular scheduled July 13th to Thursday, July 2nd at 6:30 p.m. and that will be another virtual meeting.
Thank you for that. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Brittany?
Matt Doublestein,
Aye.
Andrew McGee,
Aye.
Lauren Foley,
Aye.
Sarah Ford,
Aye.
Danny Powers,
Aye.
Steve Milstead,
Aye.
Dave Taylor.
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Thank you all.